Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something absolutely wild. We're looking at one of the most powerful, honestly kind of mind-bending technologies in the AI landscape right now, Generative Adversarial Networks, or GANs. Now, if you've ever scrolled past an AI-generated image online that looked so flawlessly real it made you do a double take, well, you've likely just witnessed the magic of a GAN at work. So today, we're going to break down exactly how this tech fundamentally reconstructs synthetic reality. Let's get into it. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with the game of fake data, look at some glitches in the system, explore 3 breakthrough architectures, check out real-world applications, and wrap up with ethics and the future.
All right, Section 1, the game of fake data.
Okay, so to really grasp GANs, you have to understand that at their core, they aren't just computing data. They're actively competing. Introduced to the world by Ian Goodfellow back in 2014, a GAN is this incredibly powerful class of generative models built for one very specific purpose, which is creating highly realistic synthetic data. But you see, the real genius here wasn't just in what it outputted, it was in the architecture itself. A GAN isn't just one single neural network, it's actually 2 networks, and they are locked in this relentless, never-ending duel.
It's literally like a classic game of cat and mouse. On one side, we've got the generator. You can think of the generator as the master forger. Its entire job is to take just pure, random digital noise and craft it into synthetic data, say a fake image of a human face. And it's trying to make it look as perfectly authentic as possible. On the other side, we have the discriminator. This is the art detective. The detective looks at the data handed to it and has to make a call. Is this a real piece of data from our actual training set, or is it a fake created by the forger?
So what's the actual math driving this whole setup? It's driven by what we call a Minimax game. The generator is constantly trying to minimize the probability that the discriminator guesses correctly. Its only directive is, make realistic data, fool the detective, period. Meanwhile, the discriminator is trying to maximize its own classification accuracy. Its directive is simply catch the fakes. And here's the beautiful part. As they train against each other, the forger gets remarkably better at creating those fakes. That forces the detective to get significantly sharper at spotting the tiny flaws, which, you guessed it, forces the forger to step up its game even more. The end result of all this friction? Synthetic data that is practically indistinguishable from reality. Moving on to Section 2, glitches in the system. Now, obviously, any game this complex is going to have a few frustrating bugs early on. Putting GANs into practice revealed some massive hurdles. The most notorious one is called mode collapse. This is basically when the generator finds that one single, specific output that consistently fools the discriminator, so it just gets lazy. It stops trying anything new and produces that exact same image over and over. Then you have training instability. Because it's such a delicate balancing act, if the detective gets too good, too fast, the forger literally learns nothing. But if the forger completely overpowers the detective, the whole system falls apart. Add in a huge sensitivity to hyperparameters, plus the fact that it's just really difficult to objectively evaluate how quote-unquote good a generated image is, and researchers knew they needed some serious upgrades. Which brings us to Section 3, 3 breakthrough architectures. Those early glitches actually paved the way for massive innovation, starting with our first major breakthrough, DCGAN, or Deep Convolutional GAN. This was one of the earliest successful upgrades that really stabilized the whole game. And the researchers did it by completely tweaking the under-the-hood architecture. First off, they swapped out standard fully connected layers for convolutional layers, which are just way better at processing visual data. Second, they applied batch normalization to keep the learning process steady. And third, they stripped out the pooling layers altogether, in favor of strided convolutions. These changes were a game changer. They led to more stable training, drastically better image quality, and highly effective feature learning. DCGN pretty much became the absolute gold standard for image generation. But what if you don't want to start from absolute scratch? What if you want to alter an existing image? Well, this brilliantly illustrates the magic of our second architecture, CycleGAN. CycleGAN was designed for something called image-to-image translation without paired data. So imagine taking a video of a regular horse galloping in a field and just instantly transforming it into a zebra, or taking a photo of a sunny summer landscape and translating it into a snowy winter scene. CycleGAN can map the characteristics of domain A directly onto domain B, and it does this without even needing a perfect one-to-one reference image to learn from. So how does it actually pull that off? It uses this really clever mechanism known as cycle consistency loss. It actually uses 2 generators and 2 discriminators. The system learns that if it translates image A into image B and then translates it right back again to image A, the final image should look exactly like the original. Think about it.
If you turn a horse into a zebra and then turn that zebra back into a horse, it shouldn't suddenly look like a completely different animal, right? This consistency loop is amazing because it allows the network to learn these super complex mappings between entirely different visual domains, completely without direct human supervision.
Which brings us to the third massive leap forward, the heavy hitter, StyleGAN. If you've ever messed around on that website, This Person Does Not Exist, you've seen StyleGAN in action. It represents a monumental advancement in high-quality image generation. Its key innovations include a totally new style-based generator architecture. It uses something called adaptive instance normalization, or AIN, which basically allows the network to control different levels of image features, all the way from the coarse stuff down to the absolute fine details. What that actually means for a creator is literally unprecedented control. Instead of just spitting out a completely random face and hoping for the best, StyleGAN allows for granular, slider-like adjustments over highly specific attributes. You can change a generated person's hairstyle, you can shift their facial expression from a smile to a frown, or you can even completely alter the direction of the lighting, all while keeping the core identity of the face exactly the same. And with the later versions, StyleGAN 2 and StyleGAN 3, researchers reduced those weird visual artifacts and massively improved consistency. It is, quite literally, synthetic reality on demand.
All right, let's look at section 4, real-world applications.
Because this technology, it's no longer just a theoretical game being played in computer science labs. What's really interesting here is the sheer breadth of industries being totally disrupted right now. Take the medical domain, for example. Doctors and researchers are actively using GANs for medical imaging and data augmentation. Let's say you're training an AI to detect a really rare disease, but you only have a handful of real-world X-rays. Well, a GAN can generate thousands of highly accurate synthetic X-rays to train your diagnostic tools. It's a lifesaver. In the creative space, artists are using GANs for entirely new forms of design in advanced image editing. And in media, GANs are being used for super resolution, taking old, blurry, low-quality footage and making it crystal clear, as well as, of course, the much-discussed creation of deepfakes.
Which brings us to our final part, section 5, ethics and the future.
Look, you simply cannot discuss a technology capable of fabricating reality without looking at the severe responsibilities that come with it. The ethical concerns surrounding GANs are incredibly substantial. The most obvious one is the misuse of this technology in deepfakes, where a person's actual likeness can be inserted into videos or situations entirely without their consent. But there are also huge data privacy risks. If a GAN trains on private medical records, is there a chance its synthetic outputs could accidentally reveal real, sensitive patient data? And, perhaps most broadly, we're facing the very real threat of synthetic misinformation. The ability to just mass-produce highly realistic but entirely fake imagery and audio is a massive challenge to public trust. The sources we're looking at make it exceedingly clear, responsible and impartial oversight of how we use this AI is absolutely essential as we move forward. Which really just leaves us with this final, profound question to think about. Generative adversarial networks have evolved so fast, from a clever mathematical game back in 2014 into this staggering architecture that can seamlessly alter domains and generate absolutely photorealistic humans from scratch. The forger is becoming nearly perfect. So, in a world where AI can flawlessly forge reality, how are we going to define the truth? It is definitely a question we are all going to need to answer in the years ahead. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I will see you next time.